Hello and welcome to Simmons Fix My Flood. This is the show where we ask the experts and you get all sorts of great pointers and tips as you're trying to navigate the maze of dealing with the flood. And we've had a lot of that here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So thank goodness we have guys like Scott Galden with Simmons Total Renovations and Floor Covering. Scott, it's great to see you. How you doing, buddy? And you got a friend with you today.
I do. You know, I brought somebody really special with me. I brought somebody that helps to take care of all of our customer packouts, and she is Cheryl Finley. Cheryl, welcome to our show.
All right, let me pull her up. There we go, Cheryl. You are now on. We got some audio.
You're now live, Cheryl. Sorry. Try that again.
No, you're good. I was practicing that all day, so now I have to do it again.
Oh, goodness. Glad to have you. So glad to have you.
Well, welcome. I know Cheryl's been busy lately, just going from house to house, trying to put together estimates for packouts. And I really appreciate you being a part of our show tonight, because we have so many customers that have questions about a packout. And I think this is going to really help them to answer some of those questions and help them to just understand the process a little bit better.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely, first time, claims and things like that. People don't understand the process. So it's definitely helpful to have, some helpful information so they can move forward and, take care of their claim, proficiently.
Absolutely. So, how long have you been doing this?
So this is my 21st year. I've been doing this since 2000. And worked through many different catastrophes. Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Harvey, Ike, Snowmageddon 21.
Yes.
So yeah, this was a very eventful year. So definitely.
Well, and I guess what I want to point out to people is we try to find people that have a lot of real world experience. In 21 years, I think you've seen just about anything that could come somebody's way. So, the quality of the advice you're going to get on this program tonight is going to be really, really high, because Cheryl Finley's with us tonight.
Yes, well, thank you.
All right. With that being said, let me bring it down. I'm the resident ignorant guy. And so what is a packout? Is it just the obvious, or is there more to it? So before we dive into the logistics of it, what is the packout, and what is going on here?
You're pretty much, stating the obvious, kind of, in a way. Yes, a packout is definitely like packing up your home and moving almost. It's just part of the process to move the claim along and speed up the process of the construction that needs to be done on your home. Packing out the home is a very crucial part of the process, because it does help with the construction process and creating less delays for the contractor to do what they need to do, so they can get in and basically have a clean slate, a clean home to get in and work in. And, packing out the home is crucial for a number of reasons. Liability to your personal property, liability to, the contractors not having to move the contents around so that they can properly, do what they're there to do. They're the expert to do the construction. They're not there to take beds apart and, move fragile pieces of furniture and things like that. So we get called to do this quite often so that the contractor can get in there and do what they need to do and get the homeowner back in their home as quickly as possible.
Scott, do you get that question a lot, that can't we just move the furniture around?
I think it's hard for a typical homeowner to picture in their mind what the process of the rebuild is going to be like. They're still thinking that, hey, we can just kind of move things around and do a little bit of work, and they just can't picture how disruptive our process is. And the fact that while we're doing work, it is a construction zone. And as a contractor, I'm always concerned about my customers, furniture and everything else. And the reality is I'm, in a lot of cases, I just can't protect it like it needs to be protected. And by doing a packout, Cheryl's company can protect your furniture and your belongings better than we can. And then, like she said, my guys are trained to do painting or floors or things like that. And yes, we move furniture on a regular basis. It's not like we never do it, but especially on these really, really big projects where if we leave stuff in the house, we don't have to just move it once. We have to move it multiple times as the project goes on. every time we're moving the furniture, we're using the least competent people to move the furniture the most amount of times. Where if you have a pack out, you're using the most competent people to move your furniture and belongings once.
That's
And
correct.
so that's why I think it's so important as a homeowner to understand why it's critical. And then the second thing, and Cheryl knows this, there's things that there's processes that we literally can't do if there's furniture in the house. Like, for example, if we're doing a sand and finish job on a wood floor, we have to have a completely clean slate. We can't do it at a room at a time. We have to do all the home at once. And if we don't pack things out, we're going to be in a situation where we just can't even do the job. We just literally can't do the job. So we have to have the contents moved out of your house.
Absolutely. I mean, and Scott, you're right about that. I mean, it is definitely crucial for the process of sand and refinish, getting the contents out of the way. It's not something that you can do in partial process and phases. So yeah, and then also just the fact that, you know, your contents are going to get super dirty and dusty from construction, you know, dust and things like that. And yeah, so you're absolutely right. It's a process, and you know, packing out helps with the, you know, process of the construction and not putting the liability back on the contractor to do the things that they need to do for their professional piece of the project.
Absolutely.
Scott, is there anything more you wanted to get into to help our listeners know what to expect when we talk about the actual process, or do you feel like we've covered that to your satisfaction? Is there any more to that process itself?
Why don't you walk us through what a pack out looks like? Because again, I think there's this impression that there's just you know, ants moving into the house and carrying things off, and it's a very detailed process. I've seen it done even on my own house that you guys did. So maybe you could just kind of walk us through what is the process that they'll go through when your people are doing a pack out.
Yeah, so it is a process, and then we do have steps and phases that we do to ensure that your property and your personal property is securely taken care of, and that it gets brought back the way it was taken out. So over the last 20 years, obviously, there's been a lot of technology advances that have really helped with those processes. And we use software systems to go in and basically digitally inventory everything that comes out of the home. It gets scanned in and out of the house. It gets a serial number. The insured or the customer gets a copy of a link and a password of their inventory, so they can go in at any time and see what we have in our possession, what room it came out of. And so it's really technically it's come a long way. It's advanced a lot in the last 20 years. But with that being said, the process is we bring in, you know, packers to pack your items, your boxed contents. So we basically, it's almost a 2-day process on a normal and average size home. So we bring in packers on day one to pack all the boxed contents and inventory and do all the fragiles, knickknacks, bric-a-brac, things of that nature. And then on day two, we bring in movers to wrap, disassemble, and move out the boxes and wrap the furniture and get the furniture on the truck. And again, everything has a digital photograph. Everything is done by the room, and everything is scanned when it leaves the house and when it goes on that truck. And then when it goes to the storage facility, it gets scanned off the truck, and then it gets stored until the reconstruction is done and it's ready to come back. So obviously it's a little more detailed. There's a lot of different little idiosyncrasies, if you will, that go into that, but that's the gist of it. And it's definitely a process when it comes to doing it. It's not just like sending in, you know, people just like carry your furniture and throw it on a truck. I mean, we definitely have, you know, a very good process in place.
Well, the thing that I remember about ours, Cheryl, is you took pictures of where everything was before the pack out, and the day that you guys put everything back, you referred back to those pictures. I could see the workers, they had a photo next to the bookshelf, and they arranged everything on that bookshelf the way it looked on the photo. So it required very little input from my wife or myself as to where things went. I think there were a few things that we just kind of had to maybe point something out, but all in all, man, it just made our lives so much easier having that done.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do take a lot of photographs before we do the pack out so that we know where they go when we come back in. We want the customer to be confident that when their construction is done and they come home, that their home is like it was pre-loss condition.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to have that confidence and the customer have that confidence in us to know that when they come back from a traumatic situation, because let's face it, having a flood or even a fire, you want to just come home, go back to your home and know that it's going to be like it was before the, catastrophe happened. And that's what we try to do with our photographs. We also take a 360-degree image of your home so that you literally can walk through the home and know where everything goes before we move anything out so that we can put it all back together just like it was before your loss.
Cheryl, as you're explaining this, I'm thinking about putting myself in. I'm thankful that I have not been through this yet, but the whole concept of packing everything up in your house. I know my wife has this terrible fear of having to. She don't want to move again because it's the packing and the unpacking, and it's just overwhelming. And so you've got this traumatic flood and all this damage, and then you add to that, packing up the rest of the house and where's it going to go and what are we going to do? And so as I'm hearing you lay out this plan that's very tailored and very structured, it's got to give a lot of peace of mind to the homeowners. And I know my wife would feel so good knowing that someone like yourself was coming in and was trained to do that and was just taking that off of her plate and said, look, we're going to take care of this. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to sit here and, watch all this and tell us where it goes and, make sure that, it's going to be taken care of well. And I see that as a huge plus to the whole process that a lot of people, I think, don't even think about. It's like anything. We're going to do a renovation we're going to do a remodel. They're going to take everything and take it out of this room and go move it over there while they work. And from what I'm hearing you say, it's a lot more to that. And it makes for an overall much better experience and a much better product at the end of the day is what it sounds like.
Well, absolutely. Because listen, we have stressful lives. Everybody has things going on in their life, and this is one less thing that they have to worry about. So, I know I just moved myself and it's not fun. So being able to rely on somebody to come in and take care of that for you is a big stress, reliever, a burden off, the customer, the insured. I've had so many conversations with people who, after I come in and explain the process, they're like, you just lifted a big weight off my shoulders. I was so stressed out about the pack out portion of the project. And now I'm at, so much more ease about the whole process in general. So I think just having somebody that knows, exactly what needs to happen, how to cater to each, job. Each job is different. And we run into different customers, different personalities, different homes with different types of contents and everything. And it's just knowing, what to say, how to properly explain the process, and just reassure the customer that, listen, we're here for you. We're here to do this, to take this burden off of you. And at the end of the day, we want you to be less stressed out about what's about to happen.
So Scott, how, are you the person that introduces the customer to Cheryl and her company? Is that something that is part of your package? Is that something
Yes.
that's covered by insurance? All that kind of stuff. How does someone, do they need to know about Cheryl, or are you going to introduce them to people?
We'll do the introduction. So typically when we're working with one of our clients, it's not at the very beginning of the process. It's once we start getting closer to production, we'll have Cheryl go in. We'll introduce Cheryl to a homeowner. She'll go in, do an estimate. We'll talk in a little while about who actually pays for all of this. She'll prepare that, submit it to the insurance company, and we'll get the approval, and then they'll arrange the pack out around what our production schedule is. Again, you've heard me say that we want to keep the windows, the production window, small. We want to be the least disruptive to the customer's life as possible. So we're going to hold off for the pack out until just before it's needed, so that you can keep your home as close to where it is today. And then we're going to try to arrange to get it back into your house as quickly as we can once all of the production is done. So and Cheryl and her company is great about working with us on that schedule so that, you know, you're not without your stuff, you know, 3 or 4 weeks while you're still waiting on production to start. We're gonna go ahead and maybe even get a little bit of production started and then have them do the pack out so that, you know, you're out of your house or you're without your things the least amount of time as possible.
Great. So our next question here, we've touched on a little bit. I think you mentioned I think you said the things are packed up and taken to a storage facility. Is that my storage facility? Is that your storage facility? Are you putting it out on eBay to see if you can make a little extra money on the side? How does that work? And where does my stuff go?
Well, unfortunately, no, I don't get to put the stuff on eBay, but where your stuff is going to go, it goes to a climate-controlled storage facility. It is owned by our company. We have 4 different storage facilities, so your items are going to go to, normally it's going to go to the closest facility to your residence, but, you know, obviously we just came off a catastrophe, so your stuff's going to go to whichever facility is available at the time. But it is owned by our company. It is a climate controlled storage facility. We do not use, you know, public storage or, you know, any kind of, you know, public type storage facility. It actually goes to a secured facility owned by us, vaulted into a vaulting system, and it basically stays there until we're ready to bring it back. So we take the moving trucks to our facility, we download, we scan everything off the truck, we scan it to a vault, and it stays there until it's ready to come back.
Wow. Is it insured while it's there? Is it my insurance that covers that, or is it your insurance?
No, it's actually our insurance. We have, we cover with Bailey's coverage. And so when your items leave your home and they go over the threshold of the door, when they get on our trucks and they're in our care, custody, and control, your items are insured by our company under our Bailey's coverage. So we actually have to insure your contents.
Scott, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Okay.
Again, we just want to put people's minds at ease. I think we had a question too, Chris, is like, what kind of training do these people go through? And that, again, I want the typical homeowner to understand the amount of safety and security they have in this. So Cheryl, can you kind of talk about just who it is that does the pack out and what kind of training you do for those folks as far as, you know, what that looks like?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a training process. We have a training facility in one of our facilities that we actually, when we hire new people, we bring them on and they generally do a week-long training in-house. And then we take them out in the field and they do on-site training with our leads. We do have lead production managers that will train on site. And we have videos that they watch to learn how to properly pack and how to properly wrap furniture and move furniture and disassemble beds. And, you know, we actually have a full-on training facility. So nobody gets just thrown to the wolves. We actually bring them in and train them properly on how things need to go. And then we send them out with our leads and then they do on-site training. We have a lot of tenured employees, so we don't have a lot of turnover. But when we do hire new people, we definitely train them in our facility before they go out and get their hands dirty, if you will.
I think that gives me peace of mind because if I'm a homeowner trying to decide, am I going to wrap this or somebody else? The reality is you've got people that have a whole lot more training in packaging and securing items than I'll ever have as a homeowner. So
definitely. I mean, we have, you know, we train on not overpacking the boxes so they don't get crushed when they're stacked. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of different little pieces of the puzzle that go into that for the purpose of, you know, securing the property. And that is part of the training that we do when we bring our new hires in.
That's great, Chris. You know, if it was you and me, we would we'd put as much in the box as we could possibly carry. That's when we would know it's full.
Obviously,
just barely lift it.
Obviously,
that's when I stop packing it, and then we put it somewhere else.
Absolutely. So with that, the next question my wife wants to know is, well, what happens when it breaks? Because if my husband packed it, you just never know. You just never know. So
and let's be realistic. Things happen, right? We're in a world. We're in an imperfect world. Things happen. There's a possibility at some point something's going to happen. What happens then, Cheryl?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are, you know, human and things do happen. So, but with that being said, we do try to take very good care of everything and limit the breakage as much as possible. But if something does happen and there's something that's broken or we do break something, we have several different things that we can do. If it's furniture, then we have a refinisher on staff that we can get them out there and, touch up the furniture. If it's, contents that are box contents like knickknacks or bric-a-brac, we do pay 100% replacement cost. If we can find the item, we'll replace it or we'll just pay for the item. But we do pay for 100% replacement. So if it is, grandma's china, we do our best to try to find it. And if we can't find it, we'll find, a like kind and quality price for it. And we do pay for the breakage that we incur. So yeah, we will take care of it 100%. And it is our liability.
Do you recommend, some people have just heirlooms that are, in my house, we have none, but in certain houses, they have certain things that, may have that sentimental value, hard to replace. Do you recommend that those are identified to you in advance just so that you can know, hey, this is what we got to take extra special care of?
So 100%. When I actually go out and meet with a customer or a client, I'll walk the job with them. We go over those things at that time. We talk about things that are priceless, things that you got from, a vacation trip that's irreplaceable or, great grandmother's, like I said, great grandmother's china or dishes or, anything of that nature. So we actually try to have the customer take care of that and move it if they will. If not, if they're not capable of doing that, we'll talk to them about maybe putting those things, going ahead and packing them and leaving them on site in a non-affected room, just so they're not traveling. I mean, obviously your things are going to go on a truck, off a truck, on a truck, off a truck. So you're going to have, things are going to happen. So we want to limit that as much as possible. So we absolutely talk about that at the very beginning of the process when we walk the job and we talk about things that, hey, listen, this doesn't look like it's going to transport very well. Is there a place that we can maybe leave this in a non-affected room in the house? Obviously, we're not trying to leave everything in the house, but there are going to be those things that we want to talk about, and we do that up front every time I meet with a customer. I want to know what their concerns are, and most of the time it's, things that are irreplaceable. So that's a big concern for us and a big concern for the client, and we will handle that accordingly.
Absolutely.
I would imagine that if you needed to get something that's been packed away, you could work with them, within reason, that they're not going back every other day to get stuff. But if they really needed to get something, that's something that they could do.
Yeah, so that's what technology has done for us. So since we are digitally inventorying everything and by the room, we send the client a link and a password to their inventory. They have the capability of basically clicking a button and it sends a rush delivery ticket to our team, and we ask them to give us 48 hours to get it pulled, and we can get that pulled and delivered to them.
Oh, so you actually pull it. That's great. You don't let them just go rummage around and to find their stuff.
Unfortunately, not. No, we do have a working warehouse, so we will do that for them. Obviously, we don't want to do that like every other day, but we're more than happy. I mean, we know people are going to forget things. Oh my gosh, I'm going on vacation. I forgot my passport. Or, I know I had a checkbook in, my office in the top right-hand drawer. And that's how things are labeled. I mean, we do label it all the way down to office, top right-hand drawer of desk, bottom left-hand drawer of credenza. So we actually have that capability in our inventory system to where we can pinpoint it to an actual drawer of where it came from.
That is going to be the best inventory that's ever been done on these houses. Yes. I guarantee it. It's never been done that well. That's great. Well, that also makes, the peace of mind that it's not just a big, U-Haul, or, you store it and then whoever has the code can go in and rummage around, even though there's, keys on the doors. You're not having other people come in and out. It's basically in like a vault where you you have to work for your company to go back there and to pull anything. So
100%. So we do, we are vetted out, so we have to have, security, and we have to have background checks on our employees, and we don't hire temporary help. I mean, everybody works for our company. They're all background screened, and their items are definitely 100% secured in our storage facility, and no one is allowed in there if you're not an employee of our company.
That is so interesting. Okay, we got 2 questions left, and then we'll wrap things up. The last one, we'll talk a little bit about, what does it cost and who pays for it and that kind of thing. But let's talk about the win. Well, a lot of things that we've been talking about on this show, Scott's also addressed, working through the production schedule and getting everything timed just right. When does this happen in the process? We've talked a lot about, we've had we come in and get the initial, inventory of things, and then you got the claim, and you got getting a check, and then everything stops for a minute, and there's this stop and go. What point in the process is Packout?
Well, generally the contractor is going to go scope the job. And at that time, they're going to know, this is a sand and refinish, or they know what needs to happen. And they immediately contact me and say, hey, listen, Cheryl, we're going to need a pack out on this job because of X, Y, and Z. So I immediately get out there, scope the job, write an estimate, get with the insurance, adjuster. Most of the time it's insurance related work. Sometimes it's not, but most of the time it is. And then I immediately start making phone calls to the adjuster to who is going to be the person that's going to approve this. And we then, want to get all of that, rolling so that when the construction is ready to start, there's no delay on that end. So the pack out's approved, the pack out's ready to go. And then I talk to the contractor and say, how are we looking on floors? How are we looking on your schedule? So I'm not going to get in there until right before the contractor's ready to get started. So that way they're not, like I think Scott touched on this just a little bit ago, there's no delays and they're home sitting empty for 2 to 3 weeks waiting on the contractor to get started. So we're going to get everything approved up front. And then the contractor is going to say, hey, listen, we're ready to get going. And then we're going to contact the customer and say, we're ready to get this pack out going. I'm going to get in here on this date. And then I'm going to let Scott know, hey, listen, we're ready to get going on the pack out. And then you guys can get in there right behind us and get started on the construction.
Yeah.
So basically that could happen at a different point, depending, Scott, on where you guys are. You actually will trigger that? Okay.
Yeah. We'll coordinate that with Cheryl and her team. We just coordinate it. And
so there's not any given, it's always at this time, or it's right after this, marker here. In other words, if you had a roadmap of everything, it's always going to be after the blank. You try to work that in that makes sense for the customer as well as the process. Is that what you're saying?
How about I say we'll schedule it during the in the midst of all of the chaos. Somewhere in the midst of the chaos, we will schedule it back in.
That's very reassuring. Thank you very much.
Want to be real, okay?
Okay. With that in mind, let's talk a little bit about money. That's our last question for today's show. What are we talking about? Is that something I need to be really concerned about? Do I need to try to negotiate a price? And then who's going to pay for all this? This sounds great. Who's going to pay for it? Scott, let me let you start off with that just a little bit.
Let me just give you the answer. Somebody besides you is going to pay for this. Okay. That's all you got to be worried about. Somebody besides you.
Okay.
The insurance company is going to work with Cheryl and they'll approve Cheryl's estimate. And I'll let Cheryl talk a little bit more about the exact process of that. But the good news is you don't have to pay for it.
So he's right about that. And the great news is that if you are, a legit company, you're using the same pricing as everyone else. So the insurance industry actually sets the pricing standard, and we all use the same price point. So there's no question in, are you charging me the right amount? Is the amount that you're charging the insurance company, acceptable? Everything is ran through the insurance company. They approve the pack out dollars. They pay for it. And I would never collect any money from anybody unless they do something outside of, what the insurance scope of work is going to pay for. So, so we actually go off of their pricing and we bill the insurance company directly. And most of the time they pay us directly.
So it doesn't even have to go through your bank account. That's the beautiful part is they in most cases, they'll pay Cheryl's company direct. You just sign the paperwork when
wow. So, and this is probably
back and that's it.
Probably way oversimplified, but it's a little bit like, getting a rental car in the event of a wreck or something like it. It's part of the process. It's something that gets handled through the insurance, and it's a benefit kind of thing. And you shouldn't have to worry about it. You shouldn't have to try to lowball anybody. It's just something. And do most companies know about this a lot of times, Scott, or is this something that you guys do and maybe some of your competitors don't do, or is this a standard kind of thing?
I think most people understand it. I think the problem is most homeowners still have a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of anxiety about the process. And that's the whole idea behind this, is to help homeowners feel comfortable that the process is in their favor, that it's a good idea for them. And if they'll take the points that we've made in this video, I think it'll be a lot more understandable for them.
Absolutely. Cheryl, let you have the floor last. On that note, what other things would you want to tell your customers or the customers of Simmons to put their mind at ease, to help them to know that this is something that you're here to do to help make this process as easy as possible? Is there anything we've left off? Is there any big question that gets asked that maybe didn't make it into our show today that you'd want to leave with our listeners?
I mean, not really. I think we pretty much, hit on all the main points that we need to, discuss when we do an initial, pack out, what is involved in it. I mean, obviously there's going to be clients that have, other extensive questions and things like that, but every job is different, but every job is the same. And we treat every customer the same, that we, how we build it, how we process it, how we do. Our end goal is basically to get a customer back in their home quickly, and also without, having to worry about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. I'm dealing with so many different people, just understand that we do this, we're professionals, and that we will be able to answer any questions that you might have outside of the normal questions. And then also just letting your contractor get in there to do what they need to do in order to get you back in your home. And ultimately, that's all we're trying to do, is get people back in their home as quickly as possible and efficiently as they can, so that they can get on with their lives.
Well, I can see how it's such a natural fit with what Scott does and the way Scott and Simmons goes about their business, because it just goes hand in glove with that type of service. It's something we talk about a lot here on the show. So thank you so much for being with us here today, Cheryl. You've been a pleasure, and I hope this is something that you can share with some of your other customers, and we'll definitely would love to. How can people get a hold of you if they need to directly?
Oh, absolutely. So they can call Stanley Restoration. We are in Dallas-Fort Worth. We're a family-owned business, and if they ever need anything from us, just give us a call.
And what's that number, Cheryl?
469-337-0815.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Scott, any last words for you? Words of wisdom?
No,
Do you have any
just
wisdom?
Listen to Cheryl. Okay.
Absolutely. Hey, Scott, you've got a new website that we need to plug.
Yeah.
Pull that up here. We've got
SimmonsTotalRenovations.com. It's got a gallery of all of our work, along with customer, satisfied customer videos. And we even talk about some of the processes like we talked about on our show tonight. So please take a moment, check out our website. We'd love for you to go there.
Wonderful. The URL again is what?
SimmonsTotalRenovations.com.
Amazing. Fantastic. You did it right. You want to try to spell it? Or is that pushing it?
Nope.
Okay.
Not even a chance.
Very good. All right. Cheryl, Scott, I'm Charles. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you learned something. I hope it helps make your process a lot easier. Thank you so much. Have a great week and a great weekend.